get started as a few more people are coming in. This is a great turnout tonight. Thank you very much. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Melissa Lampy. I'm the president of the Watertown Historical Society, and this is our annual meeting. So during this meeting, we hold our board of director elections. We invite our museum manager up to talk about the museum opening next weekend, and then we'll give an update on some events forthcoming, and then get to our program. So, first order of business, for our elections, those of you who have been here before, now I'll help you run this, people can vote who are members presently in good standing. So if you made a donation to the Historical Society since January 1st of this year, then you are technically a member. So we have four candidates up for election. And when I call your name, if you could please stand. The first is Noelle Little. Please stand. You're up for election. This is Noelle. Paul Miller. Jill Nadeau, already standing, and Scott Robertson. So Paul, Jill, and Scott are already members of our board, and Noelle will be joining us. She's currently a guide at the museum and does a fantastic job. So my volunteers, Judy and Jim, okay, if you are a member in good standing and eligible to vote, please raise your hand and we'll get you a ballot. If you would like to quickly cut a check to the Historical Society to become members, we've got envelopes for you. I can't take Venmo right now, but we do have PayPal. So just please raise your hand and we'll get a ballot to you. And you can vote for 4 candidates. There's 4 seats open. There's 4 candidates, or you can write in a candidate of your choosing. Yes, Mr. Board.
May I make a motion to unanimously approve those 4 individuals?
You could do that.
I just did that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. No need to do ballots then. Of the membership, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, that was easy. We'll do it that way. Congratulations to Noelle, Paul, Jill, and Scott. So Linda, come up. So you all know our museum manager, Linda Worth. She is starting her 29th season with us this year. Right?
Well, Melissa, I wouldn't be here if I didn't love the Historical Society and the Octagon House, so here I am. Opening day, of course, is May 4th, and now in May we're open on the weekends. We're open Saturday and Sunday, 12 to 3, and hopefully everybody can come see us. It's always exciting to have everybody come and see what we do there and see how much things have changed. Things do change inside too. Get new wallpaper. We did that last year, but if anybody hasn't come back, please come and see it. It's just very awesome. And then we have the museum, the music at the museum too, which is always fun. It's on Monday nights. We do it June 17th, July 15th, August 19th, and it'll start at 6:30. It's a lot of fun. Bring a wheelchair. Bring your folding chair. We do have a few chairs, but most of the time just bring your chair. We do serve popcorn hopefully this year and water. But it's just a lot of fun. It's a nice evening event, and on Monday, what's going on anyway? Not a lot. And then, of course, the ice cream social is September 15th, and that is at the Octagon House too, and that's always a fun day too. And then, of course, November 30th and December 1st, that's our annual Christmas play by the Watertown Players. So, hope to see everybody soon. Enjoy the show.
Thank you, Linda. So as you were coming in, the little card that Linda was reading off of, we have copies available at the table, and there's also bottled water on the back table as well if you get thirsty during the presentation. So joining me this evening is Peg Checkeye. Come on up, Peg. She is the director of the Watertown Public Library, and we are not very well rehearsed on this tonight, but we're going to tag team it nonetheless. So you've all been invited tonight to view a vintage view of Watertown's past. So a little bit of history. We were approached earlier this year that this incredible photo collection was available from the estate of Arlene Hildebrandt. So we saw the collection, we drooled. The person who had it was talking to some other people, just trying to find out, where it really should end up. So over time, it eventually came to us, and we're so grateful. My colleague Ken Riedel has been diligently scanning pictures and keeping them under wraps until this presentation, so watch for a whole lot of pictures to get posted soon once we get beyond this. But this is just a really precious photo collection. Throughout the evening, I know that people here are going to have connections maybe to Wiliam Streblow, the photographer, his family, locations that you see. So if there's things you want to bring up, please raise your hand. We'll get a microphone to you. We want to hear your feedback and your input on the presentation as we go through. Okay? So I'm going to just start by reading a little something here from the Daily Times from 2005. Of course, this is Wiliam Streblow, who was the photographer. So this was by Margie Krieger. She wrote, William Willie C. Streblow was a perfectionist who dabbled in photography as a hobby. He also had a penchant for relating any little thing he could remember about everyone in all of his photos, where and when he took it, and why he was so taken with the subject. As a person interested in everything, he seldom passed a photo opportunity without the familiar click of his camera. His subjects covered a wide slice of life back in the 1920s, 30s, and beyond. Streblow, born on a farm in Richwood, February 12, 1891, died at age 74 on February 28, 1965. He left a legacy that reads like a pictorial history. His photos also went beyond family to include everything he saw all over southwestern Wisconsin. His family photos include relatives. He often snapped everything around him, such as schools, churches, businesses, bridge construction, fairgrounds, parades, circuses, bands, conventions, main streets, and more. His photos are a traveling pictorial of small-town life in communities like Watertown, Juneau, Beaver Dam, Jefferson, Milford, Reedsburg, Columbus, North Leeds, Lodi, and of course, the big metropolis of Milwaukee. He also was interested in photographing the cars that took him to those places. So most important of all, he documented every picture, often adding comments that read like a journal of everyday activities. He went beyond the photos and told the story on the back of the photo or in a journal, meticulously matching every entry to a photo log number. And you can see the log number on this picture. Even more amazing is his beautiful handwriting. He tells all in a script that can be easily deciphered. So the black and white photos, with most measuring just about 4 by 5 inches, fill scrapbooks that were cared for after Streblow's death by his cousin, Arlene Hildebrandt of Watertown. Now Arlene has also since passed away. Streblow and Hildebrandt's father were first cousins, and Streblow was Hildebrandt's baptismal sponsor. Streblow had no children or direct heirs, so the scrapbooks defaulted into the hands of Hildebrandt, who enjoyed talking about the pictures that jogged her memory while keeping a very tight and safe grip on these scrapbooks. She would say, his pictures were his joy. He was always taking them. Back in those days, relatives often visited back and forth with extended families, and sometimes it took forever to get there, she said. And she would point out that Streblow was a perfectionist in his work, but was considered less than perfect by family and friends. She wrote, he had a hair lip and a slight speech impediment, and you couldn't do anything about that back in those days. I'm almost done. Streblow was the only surviving child of Louis and Louisa Streblow, and started keeping a journal as a young boy. He grew up on the family farm on Walton Road, and later made his living as a carpenter. He attended school in Richwood, but did not go to high school. He married his wife Olive later in life, and after he retired from farming, they moved to Watertown, where he built a few houses, but never made a good living. Quote, he was a perfectionist, and he built houses for quality, not quantity, and other people were building them a lot cheaper, Hildebrandt recalled. She said Streblow apparently never thought of marketing his pictures on a grand scale and turning his hobby into a moneymaker. Nonetheless, he managed to leave a documented legacy that will live on in history. So, this is just an example of... Do you want the lights down more? Sure. We'll let Jill dim the lights. There's seating up in the front if you're looking for space. Can everyone see that okay? I don't expect you to read it all. So this page is just one example of one page of 143, I think, in one of his journals. He had meticulous handwriting. There's very little occasion of where he had made an error and scratched something out. And page after page of the journal looks like this. And you can see each entry starts with that accession number that correlates to one of his prints. So it's just incredible. So let's get into some of these pictures. And again, this is just a small sampling of the huge collection. We had wanted to present something that would be interesting across all genres tonight, and especially appeal to people who live in Watertown. So most of you probably recognize this. This is the old William Hartig Brewery that was located on Katy Street, present site of the former Breslow's Family Market. So here he wrote, "Here's where we used to get the local beer, to get the real beer before the land was struck by Prohibition. We used to get it in kegs from the brewery direct. Much fun we then had at threshing time, also at silo filling time." So one thing I want to point out about this picture is if you look where the arrow is pointing on top of the chimney, it's not facing this way in the picture, but that copper lion is the weather vane that was on top of the Hartig Brewery, and that lion is now on display in the basement of the Octagon House Museum. It kind of looks like it. There are probably rivets for how it was attached. Hey, Peg, do you want to touch on this building?
I'm Peg, the library director. Many cool pictures of the library. I've never seen this one before. I love the old advertisement on the building that was next to the library. I'm assuming, well, when we figure this was 1917 in there somewhere. So not much has changed. The old lady lives pretty well out front. That was one of our goals during renovation, was to make sure we maintain the integrity of the building. In our vault, if anyone did the open house Watertown, we have many books like this, which talks about the origin of the Free Public Library in Watertown. And I just wanted to read you a few excerpts of that. So it chronicles the history of the facility, but I also want to give, Ken has done a really good job on the Historical Society website of chronologically listing all the big events that have happened with the library. Although Ken, you didn't put on the year I was hired as the library director. We'll have to talk, right? Okay. Most of the people of Watertown who are now enjoying the benefit of the city's public library do not realize how great an effort it was to have the library established here, and especially to have a Carnegie Library built here. The library board at the time, and you'll recognize a lot of the names in here: William Ross, H.T. Eberle, Julius Wingenhorn, Spresser, Dr. J.H. Ott, and James Moore. The library was located for 2 years in Dr. Werner's building. I don't know if anybody knows where that is. I do, but now occupied by the Leffler Benke Floral Company on Main Street, which I believe was right next to Keck's on that block. And there is a picture of it on the Historical Society website. So a considerable proportion of the people of Watertown were opposed to the idea of fundraising for the library and thought the city should pay for the entire project. So because that wasn't possible at that time, they contacted Andrew Carnegie's secretary for $20,000 to see if they could get the building built. First time around, they were rejected. So William Voss and James Moore, who were both on the library board at the time, wrote another letter to Mr. Carnegie's secretary, and their request was accepted. The selection of the site was the greatest bone of contention. Which side of the river? The selection of, some wanted the Buena Vista House on North 4th Street, others desired the Dr. Spalding site on 2nd Street, now occupied by Gus Newman as an umbrella and small machinery repair shop. Various other sites were proposed, and after months of wrangling over the matter, the present site was selected. So it took a lot even at that time. Claude and Stark. So if anyone noticed, we do have, those are original architectural drawings of the library back from 1906, and after this is over, you can take a look at those. Those were generously framed by Marie Miller in memory of her husband. So we're really happy to have those now finally encased in a frame, and we can save those forever. So this is our library. Modern day picture. There we go. I will say it's a disappointment that we don't have anything in the building across the street, but if you take great pictures, it makes a good reflection in the windows. I hope everyone likes how it looks and how impressive it is for the community. The high school. You want me to read that? Okay.
I can make it bigger. So first, observe the picture of this beautiful building. Of course, we all know, sadly, that was demolished how many years ago?
Who all went to Watertown High School? Yay!
So the snippet on this is just so nice to read. So I have a larger version of it here, and we'll let Meg read that.
The Watertown High School is an artistic, modern, first-proof building constructed of fireproof. Thank you. Constructed of brick and tile. It is situated on an open plot of ground on 8th Wisconsin and 9th Street. It was erected in 1960 at a cost of $100,000 and was first occupied for school purposes in June of 1917. It is 169 feet long on 8th Street and 152 feet deep, with a separate boiler room and coal storage rooms. There are entrances on the north, the west, and the south sides. A wide corridor extends completely through the building on each floor. In the basement are the shops, shower rooms, and domestic science rooms. On the first floor are the offices, classrooms, and toilet room. On the first floor are the assembly, the laboratories, commercial rooms, and toilet restrooms. Sounds like a great facility.
Okay, so moving along, one of the things I loved most in the photo collection was the capturing of all the special events and holidays. So this picture from July 2nd, 1922 was Homecoming Day, Watertown, Wisconsin. So the Holton Elkhorn Band coming back again along Main Street going east. The Holton Elkhorn Band is in some musical organization. They are expert in their line. So does anyone recognize the buildings that they are in front of? So that would be the old Woolworth location. Today it is it's a private insurance business now. Oh, I got a thing. I'm going to turn it on. There we go. And so you probably know this site here. It's been heavily remodeled. This is Town Cinema today. And then the buildings here used to be La Finca. This is presently empty commercial space. And on the corner is Central Block Kitchen and Designs that's been beautifully restored by Ryan Jones. And of course, I'm sure everyone's noticed the brick pavers in the street and the old trolley tracks and the cabling for the trolleys, which they would hang bundles from. I like this one too. So, Homecoming Day and 4th of July, Watertown, July 4th, 1922. So the old Otto Biefeld Company, of which I believe there were 3 factory buildings in Watertown. So the 2 on North Water Street, and then I'm thinking that the old street department building on First Street was also a Biefeld warehouse. Is that correct? Does anyone know?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Okay. So this was their entry in a float. And Peg, you want to read this one? Can you see that? Okay, I'll read. Let's see. Otto Biefeld Co.'s truck was one of the first in the lot, best in the lot. See, I can't read it either. The end of a bar of iron was always melted off with an acetylene gas welding torch. It sparked most beautifully off the rear end of the platform onto the street. I don't know if that'd be allowed today. All right, here is another fun celebratory view. This is in front of, right here, yes, the 200 block of West Main Street. So this building today is Pine Hill Farm Market. This building here is in beautiful condition. The three buildings here used to comprise an upper level hotel. This is Mullen's Dairy Bar. The building here and the little one next to it are now the parking spaces for Mullen's. And of course, these two buildings still stand on the corner. So this was a Wild West show that had come into town with this beautiful team of horses and the decorative wagon. What's so unique about this picture, and I didn't catch it till Ken pointed it out, so the date is September 9th, 1927. There's actually an advertisement for this, whether it was canvas and stretched on the building or painted on it, but that's so neat to see the link between those two. Yes?
The 101 Ranch Wild West show is Buffalo Bill Cody's outfit.
It is. Did everyone hear what Matt just said?
North Platte West.
Yes, he said this is now Buffalo Bill Cody's outfit. Thank you. Okay, so a couple more photos. These pictures were taken on Main Street. So October 30th, 1929, the Fall Festival had occurred. So this photo shows the front of the former Shelf department store building. Now this is Ava's A Posh Boutique. And we have a platform set up on the street with, is that a horse? Yes. So something's happening there. And then in this photo below, they have acrobats performing a stunt, all set up right on Main Street. And of course, look at the storefront, how neat is that? And then here is another view from a different angle. Same event taking place. You have this beautiful carousel. This is in front of Clara's Antiques at the corner of First Street and East Main. And then this beautiful swing is set up. This is Main Street Cafe. If that helps people get their bearings. I have to take a drink of water.
Circus Day in Watertown, Wisconsin, 1920, July 19. The principal band of Walter L. Main's show. There were 6 horses on the wagon. I got only 4 on account of the length. I went to the show too. It was a poor one indeed. Not much more than a sideshow all the way through. It was a regular graft show. Anybody know what a graft show is? Entry was 60 cents. Then if you didn't want to stand or go right out again, you had to buy a reserved seat for 50 cents, child or adult, nowhere near what was advertised.
So just to show everyone, the photo right here is actually an older version of the image that you just saw, but it shows that building block intact. This is 200 East Main Street. Johnson Hellickson owns this building now. But look at the street. I mean, that's still, but it was still dirt. But going way back, and of course, here's that same block today. Okay, so circuses came to town quite often back in the olden days. This scene shows the circus wagons that were brought in via the railroad, and people mulling around waiting for the activity to happen. I believe this is 1920s, 1927. Yes. So, Circus Day in Watertown, July 13th, raising the big tent. A tackle block on the top of each pole, and then the whole thing is pulled up together from the inside, and the sides or walls are brought up at the same time as our picture plainly shows. Everything works systematically here. Plenty of men, and everybody knew what to do and where to take a hold next. Everything goes, hurry, hurry. Of course, here is an image of the tent when it's up. This was set up at what was called the old Inter-County Fairgrounds. Today, that's the site of the National Guard, Armory off of Boomer, and our airport. Does anybody remember when this was in Watertown or seen pictures of this in the past?
Baseball stadium at Washington Park.
Good guess. Actually, this also was down at the Inter-County Fairgrounds. I had never seen any images of this until we took possession of the collection. So this was a wooden grandstand that was built down there. I don't know how long it stood for, but it has a very interesting anecdote for how it was sold.
Old grandstand at the old Watertown Intercounty Fairgrounds, May 12, 1927. In the fall of 1926 was the last year of the fair in Watertown. It is now the home of the Calvary. Here are 22 acres, and there are 22 acres in the grounds. This grandstand was sold on auction on above date. First it was sold in sections and then as a whole. Whichever way it brought the most, that's the way it was sold. And it sold highest as a whole section. Well, as a whole. Section 1 brought $101. Section 2, $92.50. Section 3, $85. Section 4, $75. Section 5, $100, for a total of $453.50. As a whole, it brought $542.50. 3 bents were always called a section. It was 24 feet long and 24 feet wide by 24 feet high. Many a good time I have enjoyed in its seats, watching the horse races and free acts on the platform, and the grand old music was always a treat. Was it Chase Kading was the buyer? Charles Kading was the buyer.
Are there any questions so far? Okay, so here is a picture of William with his parents. So I want to call on Ed Rather for a moment. Ed told me when he came in that he is relation to the Streblow family.
My wife.
Do you want to talk about it a little bit?
Arlene is,
Here he says.
not Arlene's fault. She's the director.
My aunt, Olive Craig, was the wife of Wiliam Streblow, and I was flower girl for their wedding. And so, many memories. That's why we're here tonight, because I wanted to see these pictures and memories of them as they traveled through the out west and so on in their little camper. He had attached to their car, hooked on like you had see the campers today, and away they go. And he took many pictures, but I had never seen any of these. So I remember both of them very well. And it was a wonderful. And Olive was my dad's sister. So we have many memories. Thank you.
William took a lot of pictures. They went to a lot of fairs around the world, out in California, Rose Bowl parades. There must have been a lot of pictures of the Rose Bowl. They went out there many times for that. And I think we even have some of the pictures that he took some years ago. Very cool.
There is one photo album that's all travel pictures, so none of them were Watertown related, so we've kind of set that one aside. Ken's been working on trying to scan everything that's Watertown related. And for as much as there's Watertown, there's Reeseville, there's Juneau, there's Beaver Dam, there's Dodge County pictures, and one of the things we said we wanted to do through acquiring this collection over time was to make sure that we got those pictures to the Dodge County Historical Society as well, so those communities can have access to them. But again, it's gonna take a long time. But anyway, with this picture here, so he writes, "My parents and myself, summer of 1917. This picture was taken by the Watertown Photo Co. Meyer. This print I made. He gave me the negative, a 5x7 size. Pa was 55 years, Ma was 55 years, I was 26 years at the time this picture was taken." So with this picture, the house that is shown in photo albums that I believe was William's childhood home is always listed as a rural route, which we haven't figured out which one that is yet, but through the narration I read earlier, it sounds like that's Walton Road. So I'll have to connect that together and see if that house as it looks then still stands and still looks like it did then. But this home is at 1000 North Water Street. So this was, I believe, his relative's home. So this house has a craftsman style addition on the front of it. Originally, this would have been a really early 1850s style brick cottage. It would have been just flat across the front with 2 windows, an entranceway, and then 2 windows. So this is the family sitting out front, May 29th, 1921. So it says, "This shows Uncle Herman and his wife and my parents seated on the steps of his city home. Who would have ever thought that his wife would be called away before he? Strong and robust, she always was. She died June 15th, 1922, just a little over a year from the day this picture was taken. She was buried June 19th, 2022.
Melissa and I am talking, this is, I guess, an artificial tree, so, Stevers. Melissa and I were going back and forth, Stuber or Stever, but I was under Watertown. It was Stevers. Christmas tree, December 25th, 1927. This was an artificial tree and quite a size too. A very fine tree. Many presents were left by Santa too.
So the present-day Riverside Park tennis courts on Division Street. So these still exist. It's sure a very familiar scene to many. But if you look here, so at first I was thinking that they were taking it and you were seeing the houses on Division Street, because I knew I recognized that little forest square, and I'm like, but it's not on Division. This is actually Harrison Street that goes up along the side of the tennis courts. So here's how it looks through Google Street View, probably from a couple years ago. So there's the four square house, and then the house off to the right, still standing right there. So this is the Milwaukee Street Bridge. So 1930, so this must have been right before, and our former city engineer, Jane Ellen Holloway, is here, and she loves to talk about bridges. So this must be right before this old trestle bridge was torn down to make way for the first concrete bridge that was probably built around 1931, and that bridge was already replaced 2009-ish, 2009, 2010, so it's Milwaukee Street. But what's really unique is that you can see the old footbridge that went along, probably not up to code today, no. That would not pass standards. It's such a neat scene. And then this picture, I didn't have a description of, but I feel like that's when maybe the bridge is starting to be dismantled, because you can see all the lumber that is stacked up there. But all of all the bridges at one time in the city all look like this iron trestle bridge. I have a really neat picture of North 2nd Street Bridge taken from the house right now is blue. It used to be a David family home, but it also shows the iron trestle bridge there as well. Of course, this photo shows the bridge as it appears today, which is on the National Register. So just some other random photos that he captured. Here's a house that had actually caught fire. Peg, do you want to read this one?
I'm trying to figure out, is it at Edward Below's house, November 8th, 1930? Below? Okay. Saturday. His home was gutted by fire that morning at about 9 o'clock. They got all the furniture and provisions and everything out. His wife was in the hospital at the time. They claimed it started from sparks from the chimney onto a rotten roof. This picture shows the house from the roadside. He got $2,500 insurance. So, it's great to hear the stories behind just a picture.
So this picture shows the foundation of a building under construction. So if you're really familiar with the downtown, you may realize that this is the back of what is today Literatus. This is the old Woolworth building. Now the insurance agency used to be CCLS. Here you can see that the site work is taking place for this building to be built. I refer to this as the AT&T building downtown, but you can see it here, newly built. This little structure comes up from time to time on the Historical Society page. Does anyone know the family that lived there? I think it was Goody, Walter Goody. What is it?
Their last name was Goodlet.
Goodlet. Okay, yes. Okay.
Yeah, I went school with the two kids from the Goodman family.
I think I remember last time Ken posted a picture of that house, it had dozens of comments on it of people speaking fondly about the family that had lived there. And you can see kind of in the corner here, this building was a medical office for many, many years, and it was just beautifully restored by Dan Rayfeld, and is now a private insurance company as well.
But I told Melissa, my uncle Harvey Malo actually had his medical practice out of that building before he moved to Fort Atkinson.
Where the Goods lived, that had been a tea room at one time.
A tea room?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone know what year that building came down? That house was taken down? No. So in closing, here's a familiar sight right now. Yeah? Yeah. Welcome, welcome, Dana. So this is Main Street, right before 1930. So there are iron railings on this old bridge. So this was the 1881 version of the crossing here. The iron bridge was the second or third bridge built in this place. I believe there were two wooden bridges that preceded it. So the John Cole Memorial Bridge was officially completed in 1931. Okay, and you can see the construction happening. Down here, we always wish we had some different views because this was that big touchy area where the work that's been done to disconnect the foundation here, and then something happening here too, where the old Wiggenhorn tobacco factory building used to be. So, construction. And as you all know, the bridge is officially going to be replaced this year, which is wonderful news for Watertown. So with that, are there any questions?
I just have something I want to say. Matt Smith is in the audience here, and I just want everybody to know he's been dedicating his time and talent in trying to get the grandfather clock on the second floor working. I think it's tested his patience. Am I correct, Matt? We gave up trying to fix it just because it was getting to be too expensive. And so Matt has lovingly taken on that job. So I just want to extend my sincere thank you to him for putting all the time and energy and dedication in to see if we can get the grandfather clock ticking again and holding time, right?
Yes, it's working, but it needs a few parts here.
Would there be interest in us doing a part 2 for this later on in the year? Yes. Okay. Okay, we'll plan on that then. Well, good. Well, thank you so much for coming. On your way out, please grab a membership envelope if you are so inclined. Money makes the Octagon House go around. I hate to be blunt about it, but that place is really expensive to run. So your membership is welcome. If you are a member and you haven't given us an email address, I'd like to get that so we can include you on reminders about meetings and different activities coming up. But again, thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you all for your support of Watertown, and have a great evening. And if you haven't seen that, this is a sample of some of the actual pictures from the collection. You are welcome to look at them.
I would like to add one.
Oh, yeah.
So when was the first meeting?
1985. There were like 10 or 15 people who come to those early meetings.
So, will all the people go there?